Good morning, everyone. I'm popping in for a Saturday morning video. I don't always get to sneak these in. Oh, and I have a very noisy helper with me today. Let's see if I can bring him into the camera screen. No, he's going to run away if I try and pick him up, but he wants to be a part of my stamping. Okay, come on up. Come on. There you go. All right. I don't want to make you guys dizzy by moving my camera, but I've got my sister's Chihuahua with me still, so his name's Todd. He can get a little bit vocal when he's not getting attention. So this morning, I just had a little bit of time, and I had done a poppies class last night, and I just wanted to share with you how easy it is to take a card design and use the same layout to create a new card. So I'll show you the card from last night. So this is the card that we created. And so it's using the Painted Poppies set with the Painted Poppies DSP. And then I had done the happy birthday on most of them from the Painted Poppies or the Peaceful Moments stamp set, but one of the girls there really needed a retirement card, so we also grabbed the It's Your Retirement out of the Witticism set and threw that onto the front of one of them. So that's the card that we created. So today I'm going to create a very similar card. I'm going to use the same layout, kind of like doing a card sketch, but in this case we're just using a card itself as the sample. So I'm going to set this off to the side for now and get busy creating our card for today, and we're actually using the Happy Birthday to You set. Oh, good morning, Janice. Have a nice coffee this morning. That's my next thing after this. I had one quick one this morning, and now I'm going to make a video and then sit back and relax in my Stampin' studio until the kids are all up with another coffee and some more projects. This is a really messy card. I'm going to save the messy part for the end, though. And I'm going to just work on all kind of the components that go on the front. So what we have here is some Whisper White to do some stamping on, some layers, and some DSP. And so instead of using the Painted Poppies DSP, I've actually grabbed some in-color designer paper, and so it comes in a set like this. It's got multiple designs, and it's got all 5 of the in colors in it. So Purple Posy, Terracotta Tile, Rococo Rose, Seaside Spray, and Pretty Peacock. And so I've grabbed a piece of Seaside Spray that's cut at 4 by 1.5, and that's what I'm going to be using on my card front today. So we can actually get started just kind of gluing all of this stuff together. Oh, and glue seems to be the one thing that I left on the table last night. All right, just give me a second. I gotta go grab a glue stick. All right, there we go. So basically, I use liquid glue for everything. I'm sure I've told you guys this a million times. I just find that the snail doesn't always hold well enough, and then you actually have to be precise. And when I'm doing this, I am not very precise. So what I want to do is actually come in here and line this up so that all the corners are lined up. So it's a little bit of a waste of paper, but I just find it's an easier way to get everything lined up when you're going to be putting this onto something else. So that just allows me to really get that all square. All right, and then I can put this onto my 4¼ by 3" piece of rich raspberry. Oh, I know the glue lasts a really long time because you need so little of it, and it's got that nice little tip so you can really spread it out thin. So I've got that, and then last piece, this is just a 1/2" by 4¼ inch strip of rich raspberry. And so, like, for those of you who use the glue, like, I just put like a dot at one end, and I've really just dragged it across, and it doesn't take very much. Even up here I've got quite a bit, so I can spread that out even further. So it just creates a really nice thin application, and that's going to go right edge to edge. There we are. All right, so that piece is ready for us to stamp on, but I don't want to stamp on it yet until I kind of see the placement of my birthday cake, because I'm going to be putting a birthday cake over on this side, and so I want to make sure that I've left enough room for my words and all of that. So I'm going to stamp my birthday cake here in Memento ink. So I find with these larger images, the best way is to actually bring the ink to the image. That way you can really see if you've covered the whole thing, because it's kind of got like a little bit of a shiny look on the stamp, and you can definitely get full coverage on that. All right, now this is where I'm very envious of you, Janice, that you have these dies now, because I still do not have mine. I will, but not yet. Oh, so that, I let my stamp just skip a bit, and you can see it got a little bit blurry up in the top. So I'm just going to flip this over. That's a nice thing about Whisper White paper, is there are two sides, and we can just do that again. There we go. All right, so this time, oh, whew, almost dropped it. Okay, a little bit more steady, two hands on that one. I'm using a very large block. I just didn't seem to be able to find the block that was going to fit this. Everything was either too small or this one giant one. So there we have it. All right, so our image is stamped. Now we're going to color this in, and I'm actually going to color it in using the same colors that I'm using for my background. Now, where did they go? So I've got my Rich Razzleberry. And no, that's my Highland Heather. Where is my Purple Posy? There's one of them, I think. Yeah, there's my light purple posy, and there's my dark purple posy. And then I'm going to bring in just some Old Olive for the green. I probably will just use the lighter one. So I'm going to use these colors to do our flowers. I'm going to start, I think, with the purple posy. And I'm not going to color, so when I put this on here, I'm going to cut it out and put it on. These two flowers are actually going to be on a purple posy background, so I'm going to do them in the Rich Razzleberry so that they kind of stand out, and then I'm going to do this center flower here in the purple posy. So I always like to start with my dark, even though in this case dark purple posy really is not very dark. And color that in. And so I'm kind of focusing just on the center here and a little bit on the lower edge of this flower. And let's come in and do these as well. The nice thing about starting with the purple posy is if I decide that all these little buds are too light in the purple posy, it's very easy for me to come in and make them dark again by adding the Rich Razzleberry over top. And yeah, nice easy fix. All right, then I'm just going to color the rest of this flower, really blend it together. There we go. All right, so that worked well. Now I actually think for my next flower, I'm not going to go in with the dark razzleberry. I'm going in with the light razzleberry. And then I'm going to actually blend it with the dark posy. And it's kind of fun what you can do when you blend two different colors, well, two different shades of a color. It often creates some really unique colors. So these might be way too different. We'll see. Again, if it doesn't work, it's very easy to go over this with the darker color. So I'd rather start light and have to work my way up, but actually those are blending together quite nicely now that I'm really getting in and doing the circular motion and blending. They actually go quite well together. I do think I want that a bit darker though. All right, what I might do is actually come in with the fine tip and make my other one a little bit darker. So this is the fine tip of the light razzleberry. I'm just doing some highlights like that. So really just following the lines that they've already put on the page to add in the shadows. All right, Okay, that's actually turning out quite well. And then I'm going to come in with the darker one on here though. Okay, so the coloring is totally up to you. I mean, you could use felt pens to do this. You could use the watercolor felt pens. Or watercolor, oh my goodness. Watercolor pencil crayons is what I meant to say. You could use ink in a blender pen to color these in. Really, it's whatever you have on hand that's going to color these in the way you'd like. All right, so I actually really like that lighter flower. So we're going to come in with the light. Oh, this is the light. We're going to come in with this light rich raspberry again. And I'm going to kind of repeat that, but make it just a tad bit darker this time. So all three of our flowers are going to be similar shades, but just a little bit different. There we go. Okay. And then with that done, I'll come in with the darker purple posy and really blend that all together. All right. So if you haven't seen my posts and videos earlier this week, the stamp set that we're using is called Happy Birthday to You. It's actually free during sale-a-bration with a qualifying purchase, $60 Canadian, to earn this one. And what's so cool about it is that it coordinates with our upcoming paper pumpkin. And so you still have a little bit of time to get in and get that ordered. If you haven't ordered your paper pumpkin yet, you have till February 10th to do that order. And then by about the 16th, your paper pumpkin will arrive. And yeah, it's supposed to be some really beautiful cards. And we'll coordinate with this cake. All right, so there we have it. We've got our three flowers colored in. So now I'm going to come in with my dark Old Olive, and I'm going to use this very sparingly. I'm just going to highlight these center bits. And just do that. There we go. All right. Just a tiny bit. So I'm quite excited to get this Mince Paper Pumpkin. Oh, I forgot a petal on my flower. I'm going to have to come back in there. There we go. Oops, and one more leaf. There. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that. All right, let's come in just with the light raspberry. I think that's right. Yeah, just light raspberry for some darkness, and then some dark purple posy for the actual petal. There we go. And then a little bit of highlight with the dark. There. All right, looking good. Now we've got our light Old Olive, and I'm just going to quickly go over all that dark stuff that I put in there, and it'll blend in nicely. I don't want it to blend too much. I actually quite like the distinction between the two when it's on the leaves. All right, just about done. Okay. There you have it. So now we need to add just a little bit of detail to our cake stand. And I don't want to come in and use like a full-on gray here. So I'm actually going to grab, I think, one of the blues that I have, light balmy blue. Now, if I had Seaside Spray, which quite honestly I thought I did, but I don't see it anywhere, I would probably use that. But you can see that this balmy blue is quite gray to it, and if you're finding it's like now as I'm seeing it dry, it's coming out just a little bit too blue for my liking, I'm going to come back in over top of it with the lightest gray that I have, but it'll still have that nice blue tinge to it. So I've got that, and I'm going to grab my very lightest gray, which is my light smoky slate, and do a quick pass. There you go. So It's that gray, but with a little bit of blue to it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now I want to add just a little bit of something special to this cake. So I've done this on one of the cakes that I did earlier in the week. Not sure if it was on the video or not though. Is I'm going to come in and I'm going to paint the whole cake itself with my Wink of Stella. And if you've never used Wink of Stella, these are the best. It's like a watercolor paintbrush, except it paints with glitter. And I'm not sure how well you can see this in the video, but it is just putting a thin layer of glitter all over this cake. And when it dries with like almost a champagne-y color to it. So like not white, but not yellow either, just kind of somewhere like a pinkish yellowy white. So let's see if I can get an angle on there where you can actually see that. Not sure I'm going to be able to. Oh, right there. So you can see there's just a little bit of a sparkle to it. It's one of those things that you don't really notice that it's there, but you notice if it's not. So that is our cake. Now I'm just going to trim off some of these extra sides because our next job, because I don't have the dies, is to fussy cut this. And honestly, I mean, I'll be getting the dies because there's so many other nice pieces in there, but the fussy cutting of this cake isn't, you know, the end of the world. It's, there are a lot of easy to cut pieces. It's just the flowers at the top, and just, you know, don't stress too much about it. And we're being a little bit forgiving in that we're putting it onto a background that's going to be a little bit messy, and so you won't really notice if the cutting up there is a little bit messy. So, you know, it's all about what you're using as your background and stuff that's going to matter as well, how well you need to fussy cut this. All right, but I sure am looking forward to having those dies. Now the dies are not a freebie. They've done this in the past. They've got what they're calling a coordination release, and so those just became available, I believe, on February 4th. There's the dies for this cake. There's the dies that go with the sweet little raccoon and squirrel and stuff. I know, Janice, you have that set. I'm wondering if you're going to be grabbing those dies. They looked pretty cute. I'm just going to cut off that extra big piece and get that out of the way. And so this Wink of Stella dries really, really quickly. Like, I'm already able to hold this and it's not a problem. Because it's just such a fine layer that we put on. All right. So around those little berries, I'm not going in too deeply and getting right into the gaps between the berries. Oh, you did get those dies. Awesome. I thought you had mentioned that. Yeah, so the cake dies will be handy in that this kind of fussy cutting process, I can even have the kids do for me because they love to run my Big Shot and run the dies through there. And they're pretty good at lining things up. Having the magnet boards really helps with lining things up. So if you don't have magnet boards, I do recommend grabbing some. But yeah. There we go, just about done. The hard part's over now. There we go. All right, hopefully this isn't going too blurry for you guys while I'm doing this. I'm actually looking into a new camera stand that's going to allow me a little bit more flexibility in movement, so that when I'm doing fussy cutting stuff like this that you guys really don't need to see, I can move the calendar. Oh my gosh, need more coffee. I can move the camera and be talking to you guys while I'm doing this. So doing a little bit of research on Amazon right now, looking for the best kind of camera to be able to fluidly move from being able to see my face to being able to see my project without, you know, making you guys feel like you're on a really bad roller coaster or something. Right now, the transition between the two is pretty much impossible without, you know, a lot of odd movements on your guys that you guys will have to watch. So I just won't do that. All right, there we go. So that is our cake all cut out. I'm really happy with how those colors turned out. So it's always nice. I just play around sometimes, layering up different shades of colors, and even sometimes blending other colors like I did with the blue and the gray at the bottom. I will often paint, or not paint, but color with like a light gray or a light brown, and then put another color over top of it just to see kind of what happens. So I'm looking at those and I'm feeling like these are getting a little bit lost. So I'm going to come in, I'm not going to go with our darkest shade, but with our light raspberry, and I am going to darken those up because they're going to be on a purple posy background, and so I just feel like they're going to get lost. Yeah, so always starting with your lighter color will give you that freedom to change things up. That's way better. All right. Excellent. So now comes our time where we can attach this cake to our card. So I'm going to grab, I've just got a plain purple posy background. This is going to get glued into the center, and then our cake is going to go on here. Now I am maybe going to put this a little bit lower than center so that our cake can go up in the top. Actually, maybe not. I will center that entirely. And I'm just trying to figure out position of cake. Do I want to be able to see that top corner or not? I'm not really sure. I think maybe lining it up so it comes off the bottom. I don't know. Janice, you always have an eye for this. You can't see who else is on here right now with me, but what do you think? Having it come off the bottom or having it kind of up higher and coming off the top? I don't know. Maybe just like that. Off the bottom? Like that? Yeah, you're right. Okay, so that's going to go down like that. Now I am going to use dimensionals to attach this. So I've got a few right here. And I'm going to attach this actually before I've even glued this to my background, because I'm kind of looking at it just like I did with my original card last night when I was designing for my Painted Poppies class. Oh, darn it, I hope those are all going to be in the right spot. Oh yeah, those will all be fine. I was looking at it and I'm like, well, it's a nice card, but it's just looking a little bit plain. And so I wanted to do something that would make the background just a little bit more interesting. And I checked out like every die I had and nothing seemed quite right. And so in the end, I decided that what I would do is actually create a splatter background, because all the dies just seemed too, I don't know, they just seemed too, oh, that's not very straight, like either too stripy or too dotty or too dark, or I don't know, just something. It just wasn't working for me. So let's get our sentiment stamped on here. I'm going to do Celebrate from our Happy Birthday to You. I'm going to actually stamp it in black. All right, so Celebrate. Love these clear stamps. So there you have it. And I'm going to add a little bit of rhinestones. Actually, you know what? Rhinestones or pearls? Rhinestones or pearls? You know what? I think I'm going to go with the pearls, just because I'd like the larger rhinestone, and I only have one of those on that sheet that I've got handy. So today's project is a little bit of laziness as well, and that I don't want to walk across the room to go get rhinestones. I'm going to go for a walk later. I don't need to walk across my studio today. There we go. Oh yeah, the pearls work beautifully on that. Oh, don't stick there yet. All right. So it's just looking a little bit boring, and I feel like if I used one of those beautiful scrolly patterns, it would take away from the paper, and if I use something polka dotty, I don't know, it just wasn't working. So we are going to get crazy messy now. I'm going to move everything of value out of the way, because it is going to get I'm not very controlled with this. I'm also going to pull out, you're going to see below my nice clean sheet of paper that I work with. When I work with you guys, I have a whole bunch of really messy ones. So I'm going to pull that out. Hopefully that's not creating too much of a shadow. There we go. That'll be better. And so I've got my purple posy here. I'm going to really hold this down. And then I'm going to grab an aqua painter. I'm going to grab some rich raspberry reinker and some Whisper White pigment ink. Now I had never used this in this manner until my friend Liv sent me a card. We were in a swap together and she sent me this card, and you can see she had painted with the yellow, but then there's all these white flecks, and I'm like, how on earth did you do that? And she said, oh, I just used white ink to do the splatter. It blew my mind. So thank you so much, Liv. So today we're going to do some splatter with that white ink. And the best way to do this is to just grab a clear acrylic block and just put a drop of ink onto your block. I'm going to put both colors right on here. They're not going to blend together. Now this pigment ink, you'll see how that came out and kind of really spread. This pigment ink is way thicker. It's more like paint. So you don't need very much of it. And we will have to kind of loosen it up a bit. Oh, now tissues is the other thing that I should always have for this. And we had them out last night. I don't see my tissue box now. Uh-oh. Where on earth did it go? Sorry, guys. That's really odd. Okay, well, I'm just going to grab a tissue out of my garbage can then. It's a Stampin garbage can, don't worry. No facial tissues in here, just ones from crafting, and that will work. It's just basically somewhere where I can get the water flowing on my pen. Oh, this is the one Kaylee borrowed and broke. I gotta clean that out. She got something stuck in it. Not really sure what. All right, here we go. Grab this one. So I just want a spot where I can kind of get the ink flowing. So I'm gonna ink this up, then holding the cap of my pen and kind of like a downward angle to the pen, I'm going to tap my pen, just the hard part of the pen, onto the hard part of the lid. Okay, so that put a lot of really dark sparkles, oh my gosh, dots on there. Now I'm going to run this kind of through so that it gets a lot lighter, a lot more water in here, and I'm going to tap that again, and you'll see the color is coming out much more watery and a much lighter, brighter kind of color to that. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, then I'm going to run it out entirely till it's clear, because I don't want any of that purple pigment in here anymore. So that's running clear. And then I'm going to come into my white ink and pick that up. And I'm not adding any extra water, just the water that was already on the brush. And then that same downward motion to tap and spray the white. Now it's not coming quite as nicely. You really do need to get it all over your brush. That was funny. We thought we weren't spraying this last night either. And then we looked and we had sprayed it all up the table, which I'm seeing now is happening. Just the angle I'm at isn't quite right, I don't think. So what did we do? We came back further and sprayed. There we go. So the white is just really subtle. When it dries, you get a lot more of the pigment. And you've got some nice little white dots on here. So when we created these last night, we did this as our very first step, and then we did everything else and came back and finished up these cards. And that is what I would recommend. You don't want to rush drying this. You could take a heat tool to it, I suppose, and dry it, but you'd run the risk of like maybe moving some of your more liquidy dots and having them like do kind of sprays instead of remaining these beautiful crisp dots. So we're not going to do that. By the magic of TV, ours is dry. And I'm going to actually just remove some of this. Sorry, you guys, you're going to see my really messy papers under here. Actually, here, I'll just flip that around. So I have a lot of really messy stuff here. So there is our dry background. So you can see in there, the white specks are there. So even though they weren't very visible when we were first doing the project, they are there. And so with that, we are going to attach this to the front of our card. And so I'm actually just going to use liquid glue again. I don't feel like I need any more dimensionals. I've already got that cake with its dimensionals. I might add one here just to the bottom of the cake on the cake stand because it is sticking off the bottom. So there we go. And actually I should add that dimensional right now while I've got easy access to that spot. So just come in there. Add that, and I should probably add one to the outer side here as well. Just that piece of the cake that's sticking off. All right. Excellent. Okay, so with our glue and our dimensionals, we're going to line this up as best as I can because this is my downfall. There we go. And we have our finished card. So you can see pretty much the same card, just a different stamp set. So if you don't have the poppies, you don't have that DSP, you can still use this card layout, this idea of, you know, the background with some kind of focal element on the side. And, oh, sorry, I'm shedding. There we go. And create a card using the exact same kind of layout. So yeah, that's my little tip today, is that fun splatter background for when you just kind of don't know what to put on the background. And you know, stealing card ideas. If you made a card that you love, try it out in a different color, try it out with a different stamp set. Play around with that. It kind of makes the designing a little bit easier, especially when you found something you like. And yeah, that's it. So have a great Saturday morning, and I'll see you all on Wednesday for my normal Facebook Live. Bye-bye.